Hello all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the February 11th edition of the Service Binding Operator Developer Call. Starting today, we're welcoming Scott from IBM to join the call. So thank you for joining us. It's good to have you on board. Just maybe some notes for you. This is a pretty open discussion. We have a meeting agenda notes in the invitation. So if you don't have access to that, please let me know, but you should. Feel free to also pose any agenda items or any topics that you want to discuss. We would definitely welcome any participation and involvement in our project. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're at a high level. We're looking at a 3-week sprint with various designated, I guess, place for planning, technical discussions, or demos. But feel free to bring up any topics if outside of that if it comes up. Okay. All right. Before we continue, maybe one of the things that we've asked for other folks who have joined is to kind of help us understand how you are using Service Binding Operator, so that we have an idea of what your usage scenario is like. And to share, would you be willing to share, to give us a kind of like a high-level overview of how you're using Service Binding Operator?
Was that to me, Jasper?
Yeah. If you,
yeah, sure. Yeah, so we're working on the dev file stack, especially with the Odoo tool for the Open Liberty runtime content. And so we haven't really gotten too far. We would probably be happy with just about anything Service Binding Operator could do for us, and to show that as our first case for our 1.0 release, sometime in line with the dev file 2.2 work and the Odoo outer loop support. So we want to be able to show, use of service bindings in, both the inner loop and outer loop scenario incorporated with the dev file and tools like Odoo. And, I don't think we have really advanced requirements at this point.
Okay.
We could almost show just about anything and count it as progress and a good starting point. It just seems like we're a little bit in the dark, and we're just kind of finding operators out on Google and saying, oh, let's try this Postgres operator. And we just wanted to be in the community where we know, okay, this one works at this level, and so we're not wasting our time, flailing around with stuff that people already know doesn't work. And I don't expect we're contributing a whole lot to any more advanced discussion, but just kind of, guiding our prototyping to know what, is kind of on the leading edge and works versus don't even bother with.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for sharing. It'll be good to understand,
Sure.
as you kind of go through any challenges that you have, it'll be good to hear about. So thank you.
So Scott, you are from the team who is working on Open Liberty?
Yes.
Okay. So am I right that to assume that the way you want to you would like to use the service binding operator is to showcase examples of applications or microservices that are getting built and then connect to other services that are already running on the platform? It's more for showcasing and also helping your users and your customers to understand how they can better leverage the other services that are already running on the platform. Is that a correct assumption?
I'm not sure we've gotten far enough to say exactly what we are and aren't targeting as a priority. I mean, that sounds like certainly an important use case. I could also see us trying to incorporate a database that gets launched as part of some test pipeline, and to be able to reuse the dev file to incorporate both that type of scenario as well as a pre-existing database in the cluster, and have service binding help mediate, across the differences there, and not have to create a separate dev file, say, for each of those environments, and use that same, same dev file for the inner loop iterative development experience in tools like Odoo. But yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten too far. I mean, I know we also are going to be targeting, Helm chart type of deployments of databases in Odoo and DevFile. And so, I don't really have a view of what the priority of all that is. I think whatever we can show is a good step forward. But yeah, hopefully that gives a feel of where we're coming from.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hand it over now to Predrag to lead us through the planning discussions. So Predrag.
Sure. Just give me a sec to share the screen. Okay. Just let me know if it's coming. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So just before deciding or announcing what we're going to do in the next 3 weeks, so just kind of want to do the short recap. So what was done in the previous 3 weeks, and so what we are planning to release as a part of 0.5 milestone. So what we have here, we have a number of issues what emerged. So just today, we finally got merged the support for flexible naming strategies. So we demoed that last week on the call. This is now part of the master, and with that, we are pretty much ready to start our release process next week. The other thing which is still pending, but this is going to probably also merge today. I was waiting for the other PR to get merged because I was feeling there will be some merge conflicts afterwards. It's a PR about changing or upgrading the group API name. As I mentioned on the previous call, we unfortunately need to update group API name due to some restrictions in OLM. Namely, the group name we use right now is operators.coreos.com, and that's the very same group API name as for OLM Manager. And that group name is particularly guarded, so you're not able to deploy webhooks for that group name. And for some of the tickets and issues we're going to work in the future, like to validate service binding requests, to establish, to prohibit privilege escalations, we need to deploy some webhooks, some logic there, and we are kind of right now blocked with that. So we need to change the group API name. That's a breaking API change, but the change itself is not so big because the rest of the service binding resource remains the same, only the group API name changes. So this is also going to happen this week. And for the next 3 weeks, so out of work we're gonna do in the next 3 weeks, so we're gonna release another version, 0.6, and we have a couple of things in mind there. So we're going to continue. Unfortunately, we were not able to merge any support for non-OLM clusters yet, so this is going to be moved to 0.6. We are going to investigate the bug 838, and we are also going to start to investigate how we can actually reduce or reduce the number of events or like resources we need to monitor in order to make the operations easier in a production cluster with some real workload. Yeah, I would like to ask the group here if there is anything else the others would like to tackle in next week so we can add to this milestone. Any questions? Yeah, so please.
So how the issues and the scope that we are targeting more or less clear for everyone? Because when you are not so deeply involved with the project, it might not be super easy to grok. So does somebody need a bit more details on something?
Or other way around, there is also a number like low-hanging fruits in the issue list. So you're very welcome to submit PRs to some documentation, issues related to documentation, fixing some wording or some maybe missing links or other things. So we would really welcome this as well. So it doesn't have to be any deep technical.
Predrag, can I ask something about the third issue, that making service API to use GVR instead of GVK?
So yeah, there is to put it like this. So like as I mentioned just before, so we are changing the group API name. So along to that, so I placed this in the milestone 0.6, but we are going to start to work on this practically after this meeting. And it is to align us more to the spec here. Namely, we are referring to right now services using triple group version and kind, and application we refer using group version and resource. The spec uses in both cases group version and kind. We would like to align ourselves more to the spec anyway, so given that we are now officially breaking the API by changing the group name, if we can get this quickly, say during this week, then even we are going to move this into the milestone 0.5 and release that version with that change. Otherwise, we can leave it for 0.6.
Okay, one clarity. So it's going to be GVK instead of GVR, right?
No, the issue is I need to leave the comment there. The issue itself suggests the opposite, but meanwhile we know that we want to be more aligned with the specs, so we would start using for application references group version and kind.
Okay, that means you are going to change the title of the description.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's all my question. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm not sure if John in the call. I'm not seeing now the list of people.
John Poth?
Yeah.
No, I don't see him on the line.
Okay. Because last time he mentioned that he's going to work on the support for better support for Strimzi operators. So I'm not sure. I'd like to hear, is there any progress on that side? I mean, so there's a number of issues here.
Yeah. There is an issue that David Parker did open, I guess number 866, but I saw there was an update on it asking us to try the latest master. We didn't have time to do it yet, but we are planning to provide some feedback to you guys.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot. I really believe that we have fixed, or either if not really fully fixed, then improved. But I would like to have some confirmation on this.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try to give it a try by tomorrow and update the issue. Or David will probably be back tomorrow, so I can provide the feedback, and he can update the issue for you.
And Predrag, are we aware of other service provider operators that are doing some work to integrate with or being conform to our service binding requirements?
I'm personally not aware that anybody is trying to get like more aligned, but like I would like to be wrong.
Okay. So I think if there is one thing that is important is that we are willing to GA the service binding operator because we have some dependencies and we have some. We want to make it a key component of OpenShift, and we want to make it enable for any customers who is using OSD. To allow that we want to GA the service binding operator, and we want to have it at a certain level of quality that will allow us to make it GA. And we are also looking at distributing the service binding by default with any OpenShift, and this is about packaging the service binding along with OLM. So this is another area of investment that we will have in the future sprints and milestone. Obviously, the goal is we want to make sure that the service binding operator is available for as many application developers as possible, and we also want to make sure that there are as many service providers that are compliant to our prerequisites, to make sure that the application developers will be able to leverage the service binding in their application. So there's two different angles. It's making sure that it is distributed and available to the application developers, and making sure that on the other front, all the services that they can consume are also conform to the specification. Does it make sense?
Yep, I think so.
I hope.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
So if there is any other questions, or we can then wrap up the call.
Just maybe a last opportunity is a roundtable. Did anybody have any items that they want to bring up? Any questions that they have at this point in time? Okay. Well, thank you all for joining. Have yourselves a good rest of the day, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. And please feel free to bring up and add any items to the agenda topics if you have any, and we'll look forward to discussing them with you. So thank you all. Enjoy your rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.